Yeah, we're going to talk about beyond experience, the mind integration process. First of all, let's introduce ourselves. So, my name is David Heuer. My background is in intercultural philosophy and gestalt therapy, and I've been engaged with mind for about 2 years now, 2.5 years. And Regina?
Yeah, I'm Regina Hess. I'm a clinician and transpersonal psychologist for more than 20 years. All my life is kind of a topic of integration in my personal and professional life. And since Mind was founded in Berlin, I'm also a professional member and working on different projects.
Yeah, just a few notes on what is the Mind Foundation. Mind Foundation is a non-profit organization for researchers, professionals, and supporters. Our vision is to establish the psychedelic experience as a tool for personal and societal development. We have lots of things going on. The Mind Academy, we're doing research, publications, there's a conference going on, some cultural events, meetups. You can check that all out on mindfoundation.org if you like.
Yeah, and we are a team of more than 10 people in the integration committee of Mind, and we are sitting since 2 years developing a curriculum. So our idea, our goal is to develop a more standardized, structured integration process on different levels for self-development and for training for professionals and building communities on a social level. At the moment we are teaching the Beyond Experience workshop since last year in Berlin and Amsterdam. We will tell more details about this later. And we are also working on a European level on the Mind Integration Network. I think some people are here that are involved in that also. We are already working on a facilitator training, seeing the need that really professionals need specific training to facilitate integration circles and therapy. Therapy would be a next step to really provide a specific addition to normal psychotherapy as an integration therapy training. And there are circles on a low level. We did one pilot study also on working after events with psychedelics or after festivals and providing kind of a taster level of working with integration.
Okay, it's Sunday already. A lot of input has been given to you. So we want to utilize a minute or two for a short integration quickie. So if you like, you can close your eyes for a second, or just look somewhere, not directly at another person, and just think about your most challenging psychedelic experience. Try to reconnect to that for a moment. And think about what was its most meaningful quality to you.
And then in a further step you can even think, can you find this quality in your daily life when you now reflect on it, coming out of this challenge? And then just try to memorize it in your body, try to capture it in your body, and we would like to invite you that really very quickly share it with your neighbor. Just maybe share one word, one sentence, what stands out for you now when you try to remember such an experience.
So that's like a small equation of remember, express, and connect that we try to deliver to you this small practice.
I would like to add one paradox. Means it's really a paradox that we put this integration quickie here, because I think integration is the opposite of a quickie. So it's really, of course, yeah, it's a paradox, and I think that's really the cornerstone. I also feel like in the psychedelic scene, there's so much excitement about a psychedelic trip, but I feel really going deeper into longer term integration is really like a stepchild, and I really feel called, also from my clinical background, to really say there's no quick fix. There's really like takes a long time, and just to give some little flesh to the bones, as I said, since 20 years I work as a trauma therapist, body psychotherapist, and transpersonal psychotherapist. And if I just share briefly my own most challenging experience was a near-death experience in the tsunami 2004, with a full-blown near-death experience that can be compared to a high-dose psychedelic trip. So I always say that was my most challenging experience, but also my most experience of post-traumatic growth and of a really transformative experience. So I would say after 10 years of working on that, I feel like I came to terms of one big circle of integration. Not to say it always takes 10 years, but I really want to put it in the bigger picture, that it's not about a quickie doing 1 hour integration after a trip or something like that.
Or a minute.
Or a minute. You can say that.
Okay. Beyond Experience, just a short overview, is a 5-day residential course that we've been developing for about 2 years now. It's about integrating altered states experience, which can be induced non-substance or substance. It's based on evidence-based methods, and theoretical background is the acceptance and commitment therapy, which shows a multi-modal approach. We're going to go into that a little more deeply. Main goals are harm reduction and self-development, and of course building a community.
I would add to that, so in these courses we don't do a psychedelic trip, so it's really a preparation of tools, education, etc. And what is interesting so far in the courses that we have done, that really also people come to us who have no experience, and I really like this idea to really use this already for preparation. And we also really emphasize that it's not only about using substances, but also it can be used for any kind of non-substance induced altered stage. And often, people say, what is it? I don't know if I ever had that. So one experience in nature of oneness or something could be an experience of altered states or even a peak experience. So we really like to reach out on both sides of the spectrum. What is integration? It's very complex, so by no means we can cover this in this talk, and our goal in the mind integration team is probably on the one side to really open up to a bigger picture, to really emphasize the importance of integration, but also emphasize the complexity of integration. It's not only about the biographical work, and on the other side, I would say we emphasize we need a starting point, and the starting point should always start with yourself. So we really emphasize the aspect of self-work, but then really taking it to a social community level or even ecological level. So we worked on, this is more like working definition for our manual that we are in the process of developing. So one working definition of integration is it's part of human development. I would add to that it's an infinite ongoing process towards wholeness. There's a life strive towards wholeness that can be never reached. And integration can be defined as the process of forming wholeness. Also what our previous speakers emphasized, like our tendency of splitting difficult things, dissociating from shadow aspects. So this drive towards wholeness would be to be able to hold conflicting topics together and find ways of integrating and transforming them.
So the literal meaning of integration is restoration of wholeness.
So we try to work on these different levels that I mentioned. So on the psychological level, that would be very much focused also, as our previous speakers already pointed out, on biographical work, on finding tools of integration. And I would really emphasize, I feel the most important or the key point is understanding the psychedelic experience in relation to the biographical experiences. And I really would like to add there one quote from indigenous cultures. Many indigenous cultures say there's no teacher, there's only nature and your own personal experience. And when we bring this to the topic of psychedelic experiences, so this is your teacher, your psychedelic experience is the teacher, and this is what you need to work on. One back.
Okay.
On the social level, our emphasis is really like, on the one hand, really contributing to education, to social activism. We have founded the Mind Academy, where we have quite a lot of very different talks, and really general population is coming to hear that. And on the level of discourses and training, we have built online networks and community building that people can grow and have this experience of sharing and connecting. But I also would emphasize it's not only the physical connection. I feel it's really about connecting with this experience of altered states and finding ways of integrating this into daily life. And on the public level, of course, contributing to inclusion.
So, why integration? Because challenging psychedelic experiences do occur. I think most of the people that are seeking psychedelic experiences have had at least one challenging. And they can be challenging in different ways. They can be overwhelmingly positive, or they can be struggles in other ways. So it can be hard to integrate both sides. There is a need, and people want to work with their psychedelic experiences, understand them better, and connect to like-minded people. So the goals of the Beyond Experience workshop series is to create the first manual-based, scientifically evaluated integration program to train psychotherapists, physicians, and professionals in other fields with dealing with these states without prematurely pathologizing these states. So it's about providing skills and techniques for beneficial integration. And the participants, we want to empower the participants to make sense out of their psychedelic experiences, using these different kinds of tools to really connect the psychedelic experiences they've had to their lives and bring the insights into the daily life. And this is, you can say, developing a stance of integration towards the psychedelic experience. It starts before you go for a psychedelic experience and it goes on afterwards. So it's basically, influencing your life. How do we want to achieve it? We, after a lot of development, we came to a 5-day residential intensive course with a multi-modal approach. We use lifeline work, artistic exercises, mindfulness and compassion, body work, psycho-spiritual exercises, value and commitment work, and there are some others, of course. The theoretical background, which we will get into a little bit more in detail, is, as stated, the acceptance and commitment therapy and transpersonal psychology. We also have educational units in it about theoretical topics, substance and setting, emergency interventions, psychopharmacology, and so on.
Okay, so one emphasis is on the learning tools for people who are professionals or not, learning tools for working on the lifeline, on the biographical experiences, but really in a way of looking at the bigger picture. So usually we give much time to working with this lifeline methods, which is used in all different kinds of therapy schools, to looking at patterns of ups and downs in your life. Basically, it's understanding patterns and understanding what happened, to bring it together into context or into connection, what happened when and how did I feel about it, and what has it to do with me, with my family, or even in a transgenerational perspective, did my parents or grandparents already have similar patterns on specific topics. And this seems like really like, for me, a core work of really becoming aware of what happens in the psychedelic trip, because I really feel like the bypass or the danger of bypassing is pretty high when we don't have the tools to like intertwine what it has to do with myself, and why is this topic coming again and again, or why do I have this vision again and again. I feel it's the one side to understand the visions and messages that we might get on a trip, independent of what maybe framework we believe in, but I feel it's really more important to go a step further and really intertwine it in with the hard facts that you can see in your life. How does it show up in my life? What can I do about it, and what do I want to change? So lifeline method would be one example, just to show you. We work with creative expression. This is more like a formal expression. It's also a huge important step in trauma therapy, because it really serves as self-empowerment tool that really the client, him or herself, can learn to understand pattern and analyze patterns. Transgenerational perspective I see very important. I work in my private practice a lot with trauma patients, but also I get more and more people regarding psychedelic experience, difficult psychedelic experiences, and I found really already a pattern also that transgenerational perspective plays a huge role. That would be in one course. So from a depth psychological perspective, of course, we have to always look at the boundaries between the conscious and unconscious, and I feel this is exactly the fine line where we start dissociating or splitting off, and when topics are uncomfortable or unknown, means usually it's either that I don't want to see it, or it's so uncomfortable that I don't want to feel it. These are two basic instinctual dissociation mechanisms. So we have a strong emphasis on shadow work, also as our previous speakers emphasized a lot. I think this is really a key point. I even don't believe so much in this word challenging. I really feel it's rather a chance, or I compare it often to this experience of birth. I feel we need to bring into it also natural flavor, that not means life is not about having fun or having a party, rather than we have to go through transformation, through metamorphosis. The hero's journey would be one metaphor that we use often also. The two big groups are either the difficult, challenging, or even traumatic experiences, or it can be peak experiences, or even leading also in spiritual emergency, or leading into bypassing. So we try to teach in these courses these two, let's say, extreme experiences, so that the participants can learn how to navigate better, maybe, and how to really deeper face their own patterns. And what we also emphasize, whatever experience can come up in the psychedelic experience, usually there can be found some links to your biographical experiences, and the more you can learn to understand yourself, what it has to do with you, with your wounding, with whatsoever, the stronger you can feel when you will trip again, that you can navigate in different ways. So it can be true for self-empowerment.
So a little bit more about the theoretical background of our program, about ACT. It's third wave cognitive behavioral therapy with a strong focus on mindfulness and acceptance. It's evidence-based. You can check it out on the webpage there. So the question is, what causes suffering, or what causes integration challenge, you could also say. ACT understands suffering as caused mainly by experiential avoidance, which means not wanting to feel your feelings, and cognitive fusion, which is literally believing or becoming your thoughts, and a lack of emotional attachment. This then implies a sort of psychological rigidity. Also, the talk before mentioned psychological flexibility as a goal in working with integration. So that's the main goal of ACT as well, and it engages in 6 central processes to reach that goal. And also, these processes aren't only to avoid psychopathology, but they're really skills that you can use, positive psychological skills, you could say. They are acceptance, cognitive diffusion, being present, self as context or self as observer, values, and committing yourself. I will go into that now a little bit more deeply. Cognitive diffusion. Cognitive diffusion is about learning methods to reduce the tendency to reify thoughts, images, emotions, and memories. We do this, for example, by practices like witnessing your thoughts, different kinds of meditations, also overacting, playful interactions. I think there was a workshop earlier this morning on not taking ourselves too seriously, so that's a good thing to practice cognitive diffusion, definitely. It says not take your thoughts too seriously. This is important because when we get attached to a story about our psychedelic experience, then we are not really flexible to transform, to develop further, to reach another state that comes after. It goes in both directions, negative and positive. Acceptance is about allowing unwanted private experiences to come and go without struggling with them. So it is not about approving them or disapproving, and it is the first step before any kind of change can occur. So there's this paradoxical theory of change that comes from Gestalt therapy, which says you have to accept what is there before any change can occur. You cannot make the jump and leave what is already there behind without fully accepting it beforehand. Of course, there are inner polarities, so this is often a dynamic process. And this is, I would say, one of the main reasons for integration challenges. If you don't want to feel your feelings, or if you just selectively want to feel some of them, the contact with the present moment, awareness of the here and now, and really try to see it as a chance to, with some curiosity, always be able to make something new now. So we are not bound to the bygone actuality of an extraordinary experience that we've had, but we always have the chance to make something out of it now, something new. Then there's the observing self, or self as context. It's a little bit complicated, you can read about it. But it's also very simple. It's the place inside yourself that is always observing. It's always there that is observing. So it's an inner place of safety, continuity, and beyond judgment. And it's really a big resource for any kind of integration challenge. Before an experience, during an experience, after an experience, it's really good to develop a good relationship to that part of yourself. And a big part, of course, is also values. So just this picture here, because it really shows what values are about. So imagine you are this ship on a rough sea, going through rough times, and then your own chosen values could be the lighthouse that lead you in the direction where you can reach safe ground again. So when we connect with our values, we are able to move in the meaningful direction we want our lives to go towards and face difficult and painful experiences. They are very individual, so it's really about finding out what are your values, so we choose them ourselves. They are not mere feelings or abstract ideas. Valuing, in the sense of act, is an activity. So it's about actively doing things and not appreciating them just internally, but doing it with our hands and feet and our actions and words, embodying them. So the basic question is, will the actions I choose make me come closer to my values, or will they disconnect me from them? Is what I'm doing really working for me? And for integration, you could say, did my experiences clarify, alter, or enhance my values? And if so, am I acting accordingly? Of course, always have a look at the other side as well. Shadow. And then there is, really importantly, big part of the integration process, commitment, committed action, setting goals that are bringing you towards your values, creating real life change, and this with all the other principles in place, involving the whole person, your body, your mind. So you could really say, if a value is courage, can you feel it in your body? Can you feel the courage in your heart? Of course, we can't do it all ourselves, so it's also about community, it's about social engagement. That's an important aspect, of course. here are some impressions of the process of developing the program, the team, so we're talking, thinking, getting angry, measuring, laughing, rearranging, yeah, and this is where we're at right now.
Yeah, so we worked 2 years on it, and then last year we started the first pilot phase, which was 5 groups, 2018 in Berlin and Amsterdam, English and German-speaking groups. I would say very heterogeneous groups, from very experienced psychonauts to not having even done one experience. And the professional level was also very different, from psychotherapists to just being interested and to learn more. So this year we start new courses in fall now in Amsterdam, if you're interested. And next year now we are working on the facilitator training. And the prerequisites will be to have taken the basic course, and that will be for professionals also. And the whole process is like an evaluation research project. So continuously we are backing up data and developing now the pilot phase 2 of collecting also qualitative and quantitative more data.
So more questions?
So this is, for example, also we simulate a trip by using blindfolds. So I work, for example, with darkness meditation. So we simulate a trip and teach about trip sitting, about set and setting, of course. And it seems to be very beneficial for people even to have this experience of simulation.
Or to use it as a remembering technique.
Yeah, so there's a huge focus on remembering. So we say all of us need to learn and practice remembering the experiences during the psychedelic experience, and then finding ways of recollecting them and expressing them, and then connecting with yourself and others. And we use all kinds of methods, also from body psychotherapy, embodiment approaches, creative approaches, because it's really important to use non-linear, non-verbal approaches, so this is a huge focus also.
Yeah, for further information, either ask us, visit us at the table in the Red Rock building, or check out our website. There are some groups at Amsterdam, Mallorca, Frankfurt, probably London as well. One little hint, there's going to be a conference in Berlin, September 5th to 7th, focusing on psychedelic science, and there's a rich program you should check it out. We're also going to give a little taster, 5 hours, like 5 days in 5 hours workshop there.
Again, a quickie.
Yeah, so yeah. Okay, you already mentioned